Alright, to get the piston assemblies together, put the oil rings on first, put the spacer in, and then where the grooves go together, where the spring goes together I should say, right there, you want to put your rail 30 degrees or maybe about an inch apart. So I'm going to put one here, spiral it on, and then one about another inch in the other direction, and then just spiral that one on. And that's the oil rings. Now I'm going to go get the second compression ring and the top compression ring, and we'll go put those on. Alright, now the second compression ring. Use a ring tool. That drops in the groove like that. At about 45 degrees to the center line. That's the dot for the indicates the front of the engine. So about 45 degrees off of that, and then the top ring goes opposite that, also another 45 degrees. And some of them have a dot, some of them have some kind of marker for the way that you put it in the up position. This one just says put the, well, that one says top. I don't know if you can see that. It says top right there. But it's important to put them in correctly. You can spiral them on without the tool too, but you got to be careful because sometimes they can break. And that's it. You see now the openings are opposite each other. That's the important thing. The compression rings are opposite. And we'll go put the get the rod and put the rod on. First step to getting the rod on here is get the snap ring in the groove. These got to be the worst snap ring pliers ever. Not quite. Make sure that that's in, because if that falls out, your wrist pin is going to end up sliding over and gouging up your cylinder wall. And this one, the dot goes forward, and then the number on the rod goes up with the dot forward. And it goes in just like that, and then the snap ring goes inside the hole. I'm going to grease this up though with some assembly lube first. Pause. Just like that. And again, the snap ring in the groove. That's it. Just double check that that ring is in there. Like I said, you don't want to have that popping out. Alright, so I lubed up the piston, put the ring compressor on it, and I did knock the alignment of the compression rings out, so I had to reset those into the proper position. So just check them before you put it in. That'll squeeze your rings in for you. A little grease in the cylinder. You could use engine oil too. This is the first time I'm actually using this on the cylinders. Usually what I do, I'll take a oil can, I'll cut the top off, and I'll plunk my whole piston in there, and that'll be the lubricant for the piston. But I'm going to use grease this time. Why not? Alright, dot facing forward. I got the shell in there, because I'm going to plastic gauge this one also. Try to line it up so it's straight. And the best way I've ever found to do this is just hit it with a hammer, the butt of a hammer. Oh, the rod had slid over a little bit, so it's hitting the counterweight on the crank. There it is. There she goes. Now I just got to line it up with the crank, push it in the rest of the way, and then we'll plastic gauge this one too. Now these have the bolts going through the caps. Like on most American V8s, you have studs coming out of the bottom of the rods. Good idea with those is you take a piece of hose that fits on them and you slide it over there, and that'll protect your crankshaft as you're putting the connecting rod in. That's it. Now put some plastic gauge in there, torque it down, take it apart, make sure everything is good, and then we'll move on to the next ones. Torque the rod cap down, and we're going to take it back out now, and going to check the plastic gauge, make sure the oil clearances are correct, and just going to go down the line and do it to all the rods, make sure the rods are all good. Alright, so pull the cap off now, and I measured the plastic gauge there, if you can see that in there, and it comes out to about 0.15, maybe 0.14, which is exactly what it is on the lower limit. So I'm going to just put the rest of the pistons in now and check all the other clearances. Alright, the head is now on, and I dropped the bolts in. I dipped them in oil first to lube up the threads, and to torque these things it's a little weird. You go 37 pounds, then you rotate it 60 degrees clockwise, then you loosen them all up, and then you do 29 pounds and then 75 degrees clockwise, and then another 75 degrees clockwise. So I'm not going to bore you with the long details on that. You should really look it up in a manual how they tell you to do it. But yeah, follow right sequence and torque it down, and then the head will be on, and then we can move on to the timing components.